The desert morning was colder than usual, the kind of cold that gnawed at exposed skin and made the sand feel like shards of glass beneath a boot. Luke Torrance tugged his coat tighter as he rode along the narrow canyon trail, his horse's breath puffing white clouds into the air. He wasn't expecting trouble that early, he was just checking the water lines, wishing for a quiet day. But quiet wasn't something the West offered often. Especially not to men like Luke, who had a habit of helping strangers even when common sense told him not to. At first, he noticed movement far ahead, a slow, dragging shadow that didn't match the steady rhythm of desert life. When he got closer, the shadow took shape, a massive figure swaying with each step, as if the earth itself were trying to swallow him. Luke steadied his horse, narrowing his eyes. The man was enormous, easily the largest warrior Luke had ever seen. His shoulders were broad as wagon doors, his hair thick and wild, braided with feathers now matted from sweat and dust. Blood stained his side, leaking down his ribs and drying in dark streaks. His leg hung at an unnatural angle, forcing him to limp painfully. Luke's horse pricked its ears back, sensing danger, but Luke held the reins firm. The warrior finally noticed him and froze, gripping his spear as though ready to die standing. Even on the brink of collapse, he carried the fierce presence of someone born into battle. Luke lifted a hand in peace. "Easy," he said quietly. "I'm not looking for a fight." The warrior's eyes, sharp, intelligent, and burning despite his exhaustion, studied him. Something in Luke's calm broke through the haze of pain clouding them. But when the warrior tried to take another step, his leg gave way, crumpling beneath him. Instinct overtook thought. Luke jumped off his horse, catching the man before he hit the ground. The weight nearly drove Luke to his knees, but he held steady, arms trembling from the effort. "You're hurt worse than you're letting on," Luke said, breath short. "You keep walking, and you'll be dead by noon." The warrior sagged against him, breathing hard, pride etched into every line of his face. He didn't ask for help, men like him didn't. But Luke wasn't about to leave him to die. Without hesitation, Luke pressed his horse's reins into the warrior's hand. The giant stared at him, confusion flooding his expression. Horses were lifelines in the West, no man just gave one away. Luke gestured toward the trail ahead. "My cabin's close. Water. Food. Shelter. Take the horse. I'll walk." The warrior hesitated, then mounted slowly, wincing in pain. Before riding off, he looked down at Luke, something unspoken passing between them, respect, gratitude, or perhaps a promise. Luke walked behind, boots scraping through orange dust until he reached his ranch. The warrior lay near the trough, barely conscious. Luke cleaned wounds, stitched them, wrapped them, fed him bread, jerky, and water. The giant never spoke. Only watched. By sunrise, everything changed. The ground shook with the thunder of approaching horses. Luke stepped outside, blinking into the morning light. An entire war party filled his yard. At their center stood the giant, strong again, towering, proud. Behind him were sacks. Heavy ones. Gold. More gold than Luke had ever seen. The warrior pointed at Luke's barn and finally spoke. "You saved me. Now you guard our wealth." And Luke understood, in one breathless moment, that his life had just changed forever. Luke's breath caught in his throat as the words settled over him like a thundercloud. Guard their wealth? He looked from the giant warrior to the towering stacks of gold-filled sacks now resting in his yard. The sight was unreal, sunlight glinting off stray pebbles of pure gold, each brighter than the last. Luke had never seen more than a handful of nuggets at once in his entire life, and now he was staring at enough treasure to buy half the territory. But wealth like that came with weight. With danger. With enemies. The giant warrior stepped forward, now standing tall and proud, the wounds Luke had treated wrapped neatly but no longer slowing him the way they had hours before. He was a different man from the broken stranger Luke had dragged off the ground. This man radiated power, command, leadership, and gratitude strong enough to shake the earth. "You gave me your horse," the warrior said. His voice was deep, smooth, and carried the authority of someone used to being listened to. "You carried me when I could not stand. You put your own life aside." He gestured toward the gold. "We do not forget such things." Luke swallowed hard. "I wasn't expecting anything in return. I just did what was right." The warrior's lips curved, not into a smile, but something like approval. Many men claim to be good. Few prove it. The war party behind him remained silent, their painted faces unreadable. They watched Luke with a mixture of respect and suspicion, waiting to see what he would do next. Luke felt dozens of eyes tracking his every breath. The weight of their trust, or doubt, pressed on him like a physical force. He glanced at the barn. The old wooden structure leaned slightly to the left, roof patched 3 times, door squeaking like a dying coyote. It wasn't built to hold a fortune. Hell, it barely held his hay. "Why here?" Luke asked, voice low. "Why trust me with something this big?" The warrior stepped closer, the morning sun outlining his massive silhouette. "Because no one would search for it on a rancher's land." He pointed toward the horizon. "And because my enemies know I do not trust easily. If they expected me to hide our gold, they would not expect me to hide it here." Luke rubbed the back of his neck. "Enemies? How many we talkin' about?" The warrior's eyes darkened. "Enough to burn towns. Enough to kill for even a handful of this treasure." He paused. "They will come when they sense its absence." That sent a cold shiver up Luke's spine. Taking in gold was one thing. Becoming the target of an entire rival war band was something else entirely. Luke exhaled slowly, feeling both overwhelmed and oddly grounded. He didn't regret saving the warrior, not even now, but he couldn't ignore the storm heading his way. Before he could speak, the giant lifted one of the sacks effortlessly with one hand, as though it weighed nothing. He carried it to the barn and placed it inside with reverence, then gestured for his men to bring the others. Sack after sack disappeared into Luke's barn until the building creaked under the unexpected weight. When the last bag was inside, the warrior returned to Luke. He placed a massive hand on Luke's shoulder, heavy, solid, and full of meaning. "You saved my life. Now I place many lives in your hands. This gold feeds families. Keeps warriors trained. Protects our people." His voice softened. "Protect it, Luke Torrance. And we will protect you." Luke stared into the warrior's eyes, realizing the truth. This wasn't a reward. It was a binding. A pact. And whether Luke wanted it or not, his life was now tied to theirs. And far off in the canyon, drifting on the wind like a warning, came the faint sound of distant war drums.